Hi everybody, this is a tutorial on rendering the movie files for all our animation projects as well as your final films. So first two-part, one is going to be rendering PNG sequences out of 3D Studio Max, and then how we import that into Premiere and render for our MP4 movie. So here we are with 3D Max open, our very first assignment, animation assignment, Bouncing Ball. We're going to be recording from the camera view window, which is in the lower right. That's where I've set it up. We have a camera in our scene. If I go up here, we can see that. So you can adjust and make sure that everything's in your view. I do recommend when you are going to render out of your camera view that you select that view and do a test render. So make sure in your render that you're just doing a single frame render. We want to make sure that we're set up HD TV video and that we're always rendering everything out of 1280 by 720. That gives us full HD resolution and what all of our files for continuity should be sorted out at. Now, and we want to make sure we're not recording, so make sure that your save file is not set up, because it does default from the last time that you've previously set up. So here we're going to do just a quick frame render. So here we go. We make sure that our object's in the frame, that our background is covering everything, and that way here we've got a ground plane, that it's all in our sequence. So I do recommend going through, particularly start to finish, do a quick render. Make sure where it's framed in your shot, because this is slightly different from what you're seeing here in your viewport. For example, if I go back here in my viewport, that ball is slightly out of frame, but with our 16 by 9 format ratio, which is 1280 by 720, when we render that, we are getting a little bit more top and bottom, and the ball is more into the frame. So we want to make we're aware of that, and we're checking that every time before we send out a movie sequence, that it's working out to where we need it to be. Now I'm just going to close this for a minute, and I'm going to close our Max file because it's really important. We're going to be recording or saving out individual PNG frames, so we need to collect them somewhere. So we should always be working up here. I'm just going to do this on my desktop. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to name it our assignment, which is Bouncing Ball. And I'm going to have that open just so we can see. So we've got that. That's where we're going to save to. Now I'm going to go back to our file, and I'm going to set up, finish setting up in our render setup. So again, once you've got this resolution set up, it should default to this every time you open it from now on. And now to animate, to save from our animation file here, our timeline, here if we go to activate time segment, it will record whatever length your timeline is. And I've got mine set at 86 frames, usually defaults to 100, but I've brought it back to 86, so that's what it's going to capture, that many frames. So I'm going to go down to render output, and I'm going to go to files, because now what I want to do is I want to locate, and here I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to find the Bouncing Ball folder that I created. Here's an empty one here. I'm going to, when I name this project, I am going to call it my last name, in my case Carson, and underscore what the project is, Bouncing Ball or whatever you need to. Get in the habit, every time you save a file, your last name is identifiable so I can tell whose project it is. And then down here, file type. It defaults to AVI. We'd never do AVI. Make sure it's always PNG. MOVs, everything else, not acceptable. We need PNG to get the maximum quality out of this. And now, with that direction sorted out, named, and sequence, I'm going to hit save. Now, because I've done this before on here, there's going to be another little window, if you're doing it for the first time, comes up. And it defaults to 48-bit, and that's fine. You don't have to adjust anything, just hit OK, and we'll move forward. So I'm doing save. That other window hasn't come up for me, but it will for you if it's your first time, and hit that. So again, now we're all ready to go. We're going to record this camera view. Make sure that camera view is selected. Then we're going to hit render. And there we go. And here is Scanline. Particularly everything this semester, Scanline's fine for animation class. In your 3D class, you may be using Metal Ray and other things where you're using a lot more geometry and lighting effects and shadows and things. But for here, Scanline. It'll be a real quick scan situation, and it'll give you everything we need and quality of that. So as you can see, each frame is being rendered here. And once that sequence done, and once this window disappears, it's saved. Those PNG sequences, individual images will all be in that folder, and we'll take a look at those in a minute. And then we'll open up Premiere and save that file properly. And again, all these settings, make sure you take note, and if you haven't changed these settings for another video or whatever else you might be doing, it will save these settings. So every project, and this is important for this whole semester and all of next year to the very end, this is the process. This is how we're rendering everything. So make sure you get it right. And ultimately in the end, it's all about demo reel. All these will be HD quality, 16:9 format, and you'll have continuity from project to project. So when you, at the very end, you put a demo reel together, it'll all be seamless. It'll all be of the highest quality. So there we go. It's stopped scanlining, so that sequence is finished. So we're good. We've got all this. We're finished with 3D Studio Max. Always render out PNG sequence. So I'm going to put this away, and we're going to take a look. Here we go. Here's all those PNG files in our folder here, our bouncing ball. So that's why, look, I had 86 separate images. That's why I want to make sure you've always got a folder containing them all and labeling it so you know what's in that folder. It's just good management. So now we're going to open Premiere, and we'll set up a new project so you can see what the settings are. And again, these should be the same for every project. And that is when you open up first, HDV is what we want. We don't want DVD, DV. We want high definition video. And you can already set this up to where you're going to save it. In my case here, I'm just going to go to desktop for when we render out the movie. But you should always have folders set up, project folders, where you have your PNGs, your final video render, and everything sorted out. Name, I mean, you can name it here, and again, get in the habit, last name, and what the project is, and you're good to go. So we're going to move forward. Before this project opens, I'm going to ask you another setting, and again, my interface might be slightly different. I've got a slightly older version than the latest and greatest, but it all same functionality, what we're using. In all of the selection, HDV, again, high definition video, what we're after, and what you need, and this should be consistent for all your projects as well as your final films, animatics, everything else that you use in Premiere, should be HDV 720p 30 frames per second. That's what we're operating out of, and we want to make sure that's how we're saving our projects when we bring them in. So make sure that one's selected, and we're going to go OK. Now, once this is open, we're going to retrieve that PNG sequence. So we're going to import. We're going to locate that PNG sequence. So here we go. I've already got it set up here, so it's already happening. So it's really important. This is the most important step when you're importing these images. We want to make sure we're not importing individual PNGs. We want to make sure it's coming in as a sequence. So we're going to select the first frame, first numbered frame, and it's 0000, and we're going to make sure we go down here and select numbered stills. If you don't select this, you're just going to have 86 individual images imported into Premiere, and there's nothing you can do with them. So make sure you're selecting that. As soon as we hit open, here we go. We've got a sequence here because the little icon of a movie file, and we've got PNG 001, so we got one image coming in. Perfect. It is all of our images, but all in one file. Again, if you have a whole bunch of individual frames come in, abort, undo, start again, make sure you click that image sequence. It may have a different name, but it's really obvious what it is, where you got a check mark. So we're just going to drag that into our timeline. My timeline's already set up here. Usually it's just an empty void. Until you bring something in, just drag it into that area. It comes up on our screen, and we play it across, and we've got our animation. So if I click on that, it should fit that format, because the PNG sequence is 1280 by 720. Our Premiere file is set up to the same dimension. That image should have to do nothing with it. It should fill that frame perfectly and be of the best quality. So what's happened now is we've taken all those really great quality individual PNGs. We brought them in as a sequence in 3D Max, now into Premiere. What we need to do now, and the whole purpose of bringing Premiere, is so we can save it as an MP4, which is the absolute highest resolution at the smallest file size. And that'll make it really easy to upload, download, and work with these. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to export. We're going to export to media. We click on that. And then we're going to have a little setting up to do. And once we've done that, again, every time we come back here, once we've set this up, we should never have to change it again. We are going out of our selection here. And again, you may have a lot more in your viewport, but what you're looking for is H.264. Don't use the Blu-ray, just the H.264. That will render into an MP4 movie. So select that. Then in preset, we're going to go down, and there's a whole load, and again, you got a lot more than I've got, and you'll have to go to an arrow and go all the way down to find, in my case, it's HD TV, and yours might be HDV instead of the TV, but as long as it's similar to this, HD TV 720p, and instead of 30, it'll be 29.97, high quality. So that's what you're looking for. And that will retain our quality issue, and then we can do a double check here. At least in mine here, it's 1280 by 720. I think I was saying 740 before, but 720. Make sure that this is at progressive or none. Don't go to upper or lower fields, and that we're just making sure it's 16 by 9. Everything's good. So again, all that should work automatically. As long as you got these two ready to go, we're in good shape. And now here, again, I'm going to just save this to my desktop, but have it in your folders and such. And this is what's really important at this stage. Make sure it is your last name, because this is what I'm going to see and what the project is. And again, if you're rendering out your final movie, it will, your last name underscore the final movie project name, and that's what you're going to submit. So we've located where that movie's going to go. We've named it, and you shouldn't have to do file type, because it automatically, that H.264 should make sure that it's going to be an MP4. Then we're going to hit save, and yeah, I gotta, and we see that image here. Then all we have to do is export, and this is going to go real quick. Usually another window comes up, you see a little line showing progress, but since this is so short, small, or whatever, it's just going to instantaneously render it. Okay, it's just overwriting. I used the same name from a previous one. There we go. There's that little name, and it's gone before even that bar started to go across. Usually a little yellow bar showing progress, but already done. And now we finish this, and if we go to our desktop, here it is, our ball project. We open that up, and we should be able to expand that, and we've got the best resolution of that bouncing ball, and that's what I'm going to be using, downloading from your files to take a look and to mark your projects. So we want the best quality we can. Alright, so if we go to this project and take a look at the information on it, if it'll let me. There we go. So file size 247 kilobytes, and that is a super small file, which is only can happen with MP4. That's why we're doing it all. Okay, so I look forward to seeing everybody's projects throughout this semester and next year, all at this format, and everybody doing it the same way. And good luck with the rest of the semester.